Well, let's talk a bit more about this meeting. I'm now being joined on the news at 10 by the Chairman, National Economic Summit Group, Mr. Kyari Buka from Abuja. Thanks a lot for joining us on the news at 10.
Thank you, Ijoma.
The President is leading this delegation. Are you on the delegation? And I'm asking that because many business leaders like yourself in the private sector don't seem to be part of this trip. What's your impression about that? Is that so?
Well, I have never been one that would want to prefer being in sub-zero temperature rather than warm and toasty Abuja. But I have work to do here, so I didn't make it to Davos.
All right. Well, let me just start by asking you what message Nigeria is taking to Davos. And by that, I'm talking about strategic partnerships, negotiations. What sorts of discussions are we bringing to the table?
I think from my point of view, there are a number of things that Nigeria must tell her story to Davos and beyond, for that matter. And those are, one, that we are open for business. The uncertainties that investors have shown fairly recently have been turned around, especially with the INE window, which the central bank governor instituted sometime in the latter part of last year. And the other thing is that the uptick of 24 positions in the world, in the ease of doing business, which Nigeria has moved from a position of 169 to 145 in the world. And we in the Nigerian Economic Summit Group, we, number one, commend the Nigerian government for that and for those fiats, but we also are saying that those are not enough. We have to do a lot more, and we have to tell our story such that the positives that we present to the world outweigh the negatives that we see in the press and media. So essentially, it is Nigeria showcasing Nigeria and the attractiveness and competitiveness that the country is going to present at Davos.
And in terms of showcasing Nigeria and doing more, like you were talking about earlier on, this is an annual profiled global gathering. How do you think we can actually leverage on our participation? Because many people say there's a lot of talk when we're at such summits, and then agreements are not binding on either party. We come back and prepare for the next year. So how do you think we can leverage on this sort of global meeting?
I think the effectiveness or the efficacy of such an outing usually lies on what we can get out of as a nation, because we have to focus and we have to tell our story. The important thing is that some of these indices and some of these global analysis of Nigeria vis-a-vis other countries of the world are showing that Nigeria is improving on most counts. There are some areas where we still need to be cognizant and pay attention to, such as infrastructure, electricity, energy area, and also deregulation in the petroleum sector as well. There are a few pockets where you will not see foreign investors rushing into. However, overall, there is the attractiveness of the returns or the type of returns that Nigeria presents to the world. So all of those are things that we need to share. Now, the problem is in how we articulate those and how we as a nation would enact policies that at the end of the day will be beneficial and will be seen as attractive compared to somebody taking their money somewhere else. Because foreign investors generally have choices. There are 196 or so countries out there. And so why should I bring my money to Nigeria when I have an option of investing in Ghana or Kenya? Now, those are the kind of competition or competitiveness that we have to position ourselves. And no one can tell the story of Nigeria better than Nigerians.
In terms of picking ourselves up, I mean, we understand that you met with the NESG, met with the president today. What were some of the takeaways from that meeting that you had?
Well, it's one of our normally annual rituals, and this is where we met with Mr. President, and he was gracious enough to give us enough time for us to present to him the report from the 23rd Nigerian Economic Summit, which took place last October, as well as the 2018 macroeconomic outlook, basically our projection of how things are going to look like in 2018. In addition to that, in my own presentation, where we laid out and number one, we commended the government, this government, for some of the achievements that we've seen, such as the foreign reserves rising, the addressing pragmatic approach to the issues in the Niger Delta, such that oil production levels have improved over the course of the year 2017, as well as some other six or so issues that we have shared as challenges. And Mr. President addressed all of those issues quite commendably. All
right, Mr. K, I'm afraid I'm going to have to interject and stop you there now, but thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. Chairman, National Economic Summit Group, Mr. Kyari Buka, for sharing your thoughts on the news at 10 tonight. Thank you.